Hello, Western Civilization 105 and World Civilization 107 classes. This is another video that eventually everybody will have to watch, but you don't have to now. Class starts next week, and but you do have a chance to get ahead of the game and watch this video. I'm gonna probably have one more video or post that I think will complement giving you information that will help you attain the grade that you want and deserve. Um, Now, this is a little bit of a random hodgepodge. I'm going to talk about AI, essays, that goes together, and then address something about current politics. Excuse me. But why I feel the need to do that is because I feel like we're really in a very intensely unique historic set of events right now that I want you to be aware of and think about as we go through this class, and that we will end this both classes. They will fit the current events fits into both subject matter of Western Civ and World Civ, and there may be a lot of events that happen as well that will alter the way that I would actually teach this. So we're just going to see how things look by the end of the semester. So having said that, all right. um AI. Um, Most people are using it. There's big debates about it. Um, I just want to say, I think consulting feedback on AI, um, checking up or using it as a tool, most academics, the academic consensus at this point seems to be that that can be valuable. Having AI write your papers, write your video notes, write your discussions is not acceptable. And sometimes I will catch it and other times I won't. Here's what I want you to just keep in mind. I'm not out to try to police you. You're getting your own education, you're paying for it. And at the same time, we want to keep standards higher. We want to help encourage, we want you all to rise up to certain levels. So again, you can utilize it. But look, I'm going to make this very clear. And you're going to get examples of this. That's going to be my post starting next week on what an essay would look like. When you write the essays, you have to use only the sources that we used in the module. You're going to have a date somewhere or two, kind of grounding the essay in the time period that we're talking about. And you're going to have to look within the essay, not at the end. Within the essay, every time you paraphrase or make a direct quote from the sources that we used, whether it's what you read or what you watched, you put in parentheses telling me what where that came from and what we covered that week. So if you give me an essay and it doesn't have those citations that are within the essay, you will get a 0. Cannot send me an essay without them. I'm going to repeat this several times because no matter how many times I say this in a semester, I get students that constantly just give me an essay. And then they'll say, oh, oops. And then they put like a works cited at the bottom of the page, which is just no, 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 no. This keeps you honest. I'm looking for you to show that you looked at the sources that we covered during the week and you're able to um, craft a short essay out of that. Now, you will see when I cover this that when I looked as well, the citation needs to be done in a way, and I will give you examples so you don't need to stress out about that. I'll make it very clear. I should know exactly where to go to look at that source, and I'd quickly find information that you had sent. Now, you mainly need to rely on paraphrasing. What's paraphrasing? Paraphrasing is putting things in your own words. So a citation needs to go after a direct quote. Many of you understand that, okay? And you can use direct quotes. but most of the essay should be a paraphrase. You also need to cite a paraphrase when you, and so the easiest way to look at it is that if you've just written something down that doesn't come from inside of your brain, in other words, you got this information somewhere else, and in this case, you would have attained that knowledge from a source that we covered in the module of that week. The citation is basically telling me, hey, I learned about this topic and I got it from this source. This is where I got this information from. You feel me? That's what's going on with the citation process. And so it helps to conceptualize what a citation in this case is, like what's the point of it, and what you need to be conveying with your citations. Um I promise I don't grade very hard on the essays, but I grade I do not compromise on these fundamental requirements, which I'm going to again repeat several times. So again, a history paper without a date is not a history paper. It's got to be grounded in history. Where is it at? I'm never going to make you memorize dates, by the way, but you have to have them in your essays. So it's like, okay, then you're going to put it, you're going to make sure that's in there. So before I read essays, I'm going to look, is there any dates? Something that tells me what time period we're talking about. Okay. Next, citations within the essay. Next, are these citations the sources that we used in the module, not from outside the module? It must be from this module. Okay, great. And then lastly, if I need to, I kind of check on some of them to make sure that they really are the actual citations that go with the information. And then I read your essay. So I do a technical, that's the parts I don't compromise on. Now, if you struggle with writing and you have difficulty articulating yourself and all that, you don't need to stress about this, because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to say, hey, I see that this student is engaging with the material that we covered in class. They're doing their best to try to process what they've learned and put it into the essay, and they're giving credit to the sources of where they got this information from. Even if you get something wrong, like you misunderstood something, you will not be docked for that. I will just give you feedback on that and tell you what happened, but you will succeed. So that's the real simple formula. And when it comes to discussions, um, I can see when you have like these overly formulaic kind of things going on. Also with the video notes, you're going to have to do notes in all the videos, because this is a way of you proving that you watch the videos. I know what videos I've watched. What I do is I've had some students, they'll see the topic of the videos that I have, and then they'll get a sort of AI answer about the topic, as if I don't know what video I'm showing. And it's clear that they did not watch the video. The video note should reflect some sort of knowledge you've retained from the videos, whether it's a lecture that I'm giving or a documentary clip, or another lecturer, like, that goes with the subject matter. So the way I grade is not being hard on you all, but I am looking to see that you're with the class, putting your effort on your own. You understand what I'm saying? That is it. And sometimes I'm sure some students get away with bypassing all that. Okay. Uh, but if I see it, I'm going to call it out. And let's not go there. And plagiarism, just don't go there. Like, plagiarism is when you use somebody else's stuff, when you don't cite. And if you have questions about plagiarism, then you can ask me. But we do have, and I seem to catch overt plagiarism almost every semester. And I just want to advise you, just don't do it. If you're overloaded with work and you're behind and you don't feel like you can get it done, or you can't concentrate, it's better just to contact me and have a conversation and try to negotiate something with when it's done or something, than me catch you plagiarizing. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. Lastly, I just want to say, and I know a lot of you are going to feel like I understand. I'm born and raised in Modesto. I now living in Portland. I understand how divided people are on politics here, and my whole family is the whole range. And you may or may not figure out where I'm at, like as we go through the classes. Okay, but I try to provide nuance and show that quality information is going to be good to use, whether or not you agree with somebody's overall political perspective. So, having said that, the um the current war that the United States and Israel had with Iran and is trying to disengage with is hugely significant. And the mainstream media, and I'm talking about CNN, Fox News, Newsmax, MSNBC, like basically all legacy media, as they say, has been very slow, and it's only starting to fully get a clue or articulate just what has happened. Basically, the United States and Israel started a war with Iran, and Iran won. And Iran is negotiating on their terms. And I have to say that I think now I did Asia and the Islamic world as my undergraduate work. I've studied this part of the world for a long time. You'll learn about it in both classes, elements. But I don't think anybody saw all the things happening that are occurring right now. Um, there were certain things that were addressed. So in war games, by the way, and we'll later on talk about it. I go to retired U.S. colonels and former CIA analysts, but people called political realists that aren't necessarily, Democrat Republican oriented. I've been following these guys for through this whole thing, and they knew the Strait of Hormuz needed to be discussed. For example, uh, no one was really realized the leverage that would actually give Iran. Iran went from being a country that has been isolated and under sanctions, and to now possibly becoming now another world power and a dominant power in the region, only because of this war, finding out things that maybe they didn't even know the leverage that they had. And right now, also, it's still not finished. It's not done. Having this closed strait is actually ruining the world economy. It is affecting the entire world. There's not a war that we've ever had that has had so much global implications. And it's probably one of the messiest and is switching entire reconfiguring aspects of of political dominance and hegemony and all of the it's just it's such a game changer, and yet it's also not over, and there's still many twists and turns that can happen. So it's linked to the Israel-Palestine conflict, which we'll cover. It's linked to Israel and Lebanon, the uh, who politics of Lebanon, Hezbollah, Iran, and the role of the United States and the U.S. support of the Gulf states, and several other factors. These all affect Western civilization's history very much so, and the rest of the globe. So I want to give you the heads up on all of that. I want you to give you the heads up on that. I think I'm pulling with some pretty solid sources that I should be able to give you a lot. We should be able to cover all of this in a way that is going to ground you in kind of understanding more or less like why and what is going on. But just know it's huge. It's huge, and that's understood by the world. And a lot of Americans are still kind of just not getting it. Okay, so all right, I'll leave it at that. We have a lot to learn. We're going to definitely see that history and understanding history is vital. It's important, and we'll be in touch. I'll see you all next week.